Hello friends and welcome back for episode 52 of our Terraria 1.3 Let's Play. Hope you're all doing well as always. So today is going to be another day of some minor collecting that we need to do. I know I said last time we were going to go into potentially doing the Frost Moon, but I looked around a little bit, and although I could create the item that I need for it, I think I'd rather kind of hedge my bets and get a little bit more ectoplasm, because, well, it seems like these things need a lot of that lately. Anyway, I've got a couple of things to show you before we get into today's content, which is, I've got this magic lantern, and I found a keen slap hand. Both of these items happen to come from the goblin vendor who I found in the jungle area during a blood moon, so that kind of prompted him to, I guess, sell some different items. Now, the slap hand, not a huge deal. This thing is just another sort of melee, sort of like the zombie arm. Not a big deal. It, like, really doesn't help me in any particular way, but it's kind of neat that I've got it to add to the pile. More interestingly, though, is the magic lantern, because what this does, and let me just show you here, we'll swap it out with the one I have. It actually gives you that little sparkly effect, sort of like when you've got the treasure finding potion on, only, of course, the radius that it shows you at is probably a lot smaller. It doesn't seem to provide much, if any, light. It seems very, very minimal. I think the light that I'm generating there is from my own character that you can see on the background. So, yeah, I guess, oddly enough, as a lantern, it doesn't provide lantern-ish qualities. It just provides the magic-ish qualities, I guess. So it's a cool item to have. It's equipable, and it's definitely something that, well, I was happy to find in there. I was kind of dismayed, though, to figure out after the fact that I could have bought a yo-yo that I needed from this character. I guess the Gradient is a yo-yo that I don't have in my collection, and it's really hard to remember because there's like 20 yo-yos that all occupy roughly the same DPS space, like in this region here, so I passed that one by, unfortunately. So be it, can't help it, sometimes it happens. So let's put away these two items. I guess, what does this count as, a pet? No, it's not quite a pet. Where do I put light stuff? Maybe it does count as a pet, because I can't really think of a better position to put it in. Maybe I'll have... So what does this count as here? Equipable. Oh yeah, I guess it's just sort of an accessory in a way, but it's like a different kind of accessory. Because if I'm thinking about it, I've got other wisps in a bottle here. Alright, so maybe this is another classification issue that I'm going to have to deal with eventually. It's becoming very convoluted for me to remember where I've put everything because there's so many different genres of, like, subgenres, rather, of things that I want to keep. Like this dual hook, in fact. I don't really know why this is here because it's actually a grappling hook. And grappling hooks belong over here, so, yeah, I don't know quite how that happened. I'm not sure pets is really the right area for them either, but maybe I'll address this. And also, in case you thought, like, wow, this chest is so empty, where are all the mounts? Well, there's a lot of mounts. They've just been hiding very effectively. We'll run into them eventually, though, and when we do, oh boy, you better be prepared. So we're going to put our keen slap hand in with this subgenre of, like, swipey swords, I guess, that are really more like arms or weird, like, I don't even know what you call these. Like, this is it's a gun that shoots a boxing glove that's attached to the gun, so it's like, that doesn't really fall under any classification, and these things are like a beast all unto themselves. There's not really any hand weapons other than that. Well, I mean, these are two literal hand weapons, but you know what I mean. Anyway, let's summon some pirates, and then we can talk about some stuff, because that's fun. I feel like doing a pirate invasion, just in case we can get the coin gun to show up. And you might have noticed I took my possessed hatchet out of my inventory because it just hasn't been really useful to me lately. I've relied quite heavily on just these two items, the Solar Eruption and the Terrarian. Again, very, very high DPS here, and ability to hit things en masse with this guy, and also through walls, and lighting things up is just super helpful. When I was on the search for some chlorophyte, which I just went on a little mission to find some chlorophyte so I could pad out my bars because, well, I wanted to make that freaking sweet mining cart thing. So I went and grabbed a whole bunch of that stuff. You'll see I've now got 60 shroomite bars. It's because I crafted a whole bunch out of chlorophyte. I've got excess of the ore, and I even left some in my overflow bars chest down below. So we need a lot more ectoplasm for specter bars, and we need like 1 or 2 more runs for luminite, and we should be there. And of course the drops are going to be great too. But I figured I would just kind of go on a little journey, and I was using this sword to illuminate the ground for me. It also probably resulted in some very odd patterns of lighting over here. Also, the pet that I've been using has just been creating these swirls everywhere, which I'm not sure how I feel about. It's very helpful when you're in the moment of actually dealing with it, but it kind of sucks for your map because it just looks really messy. I'm not sure if I should really care about that very much, but turns out, I guess I do. The other thing, oh, you know what I could probably do? Okay, it's here already. I was gonna say we'll head over to the beach, and then we could fight the pirates over in that direction. That way maybe we could also get a probe in the process, but I don't think that works that way, because like I said last time, the events just kind of like don't double up like that. We got a cutlass, that's already a drop I didn't have, so that's pretty good. These guys are also pretty good for money drops, so I'm just gonna kind of hang out over by this blue candle, let them do their worst. So I had a thing happen the other night, and it sort of spawned a little bit of introspection. In a weird way. I was streaming The Binding of Isaac Rebirth last night, a game that I'm sure very many of you are reasonably familiar with, and there's a couple of things that I've been still trying to accomplish. I don't have the Super Meat Boy achievement, and I don't have a bunch of the Lost achievements. Well, the only one I do have is the one for beating Mom's heart. So I thought I would do a bunch of Lost runs and try for perhaps doing the Meat Boy stuff, and I ended up in a whole bunch of monotony, but that's kind of besides the point, because I streamed for 5 hours and didn't make any progress despite having actually a pretty fun night. So I ended up getting raided by Cobalt Streak. Again, super nice guy and really prolific Isaac streamer, so it was a wonderful thing for that. And he raided and hosted me, and I ended up getting like 1,700 viewers, which is ridiculous and awesome. And, well, the point of me telling you this is not to brag about how many viewers. The point is, what I was doing in my Isaac run was I was actually just running a bunch of like 8-bit chiptunes of music that I like, because kind of what I figured out to do is, well, it's sort of a nice middle ground where I get to listen to music I like without alienating people, because if you don't know, I listen to a lot of like technical progressive metal and screamy kind of deathcore stuff, metalcore, and varieties like that. And I know not everybody's into that, and that's totally fine. I'm not saying you should be, and I have no ill will toward people who would actually be turned away by that kind of thing. But the reason it was notable is because it actually served as a really interesting, like, jumping off point. The fact that it was presented in chiptunes, well, not only was it not alienating people because there wasn't screaming and vocals in it, I also do it because it doesn't trigger any content ID stuff, which is fantastic for me. So that means if I end up having a really good moment, I don't have to worry about the VOD if I need to put it up on YouTube or something. But I didn't really expect that, like, so many people would actually be kind of into it. Like, I had no expectation that people would be like, oh, wow, that's actually really cool. Tell me more about these bands you like. I was kind of doing it for my own sake, just because I wanted to listen to my own music, and it just sort of works out that way. But as it turns out, I guess, like, a lot of people are way more open-minded to that kind of thing than I would have expected. And maybe it requires a little bit of, like, inching into that territory without just going, here's a bunch of blast beats and screaming, figure it out yourself. Maybe if you approach it from an angle that maybe people are more familiar with or more comfortable with, you don't get as many people as frustrated as quickly. I mean, I'm sure there were a few people that were just like, nah, F this, I'm out, I don't want to listen to this. But it seemed like more people than not were like, tell me more, I want to go check these bands out. And I'm talking, you know, Between the Buried and Me, Periphery, Rings of Saturn in particular was probably the most confrontational of the music that I was listening to. And actually, we did some chiptunes of that, and then we switched over to, here's what the actual track sounds like. I just played like one song just for contrast to see what people thought of it. And I didn't really get all that many complaints there either, although I also knew better than to just play that for too long. But it kind of got me thinking about subjectivity and dissonance, and like, where is that line? And it hooked into another thing, and you know what, I might just do another pirate invasion, because I didn't get the coin gun, but I did get a discount card again, which is great, and I got like a whole bunch of golden furniture and a bandana and stuff. That's cool. I'm gonna have to go hang out in the ocean as well and see if maybe I can get more treasure maps, because it would be nice to have a backlog on those. But yeah, I was listening to this video that it was very odd to me. I've never really... I mean, I know a little bit about music, but there's a few things that still escape me. One of those things is called microtunes, or microtones, rather, not tunes. And what that kind of boils down to, and I don't know still very much about it in particular, but what it kind of boils down to is you're dealing with extremely mathematical approaches toward musical tunings, and what that manifests as when you're listening to it is like really, really dissonant and just straight up sounding out of tune music, and that for me was over the line of what I considered reasonable to listen to, and I actually was so not into it that it made me kind of call the guy pretentious for being so into it, and I realized, like, what is up with me? I need to, like, think about my position on this, because that seems like a very hypocritical stance, considering the music I listen to very often is extremely dissonant by design. But why is it that tuning in particular is the line that I need to draw? And it's a parallel that I have in very many facets in my life. I mean, I purposely seek out things that are sort of below the surface. Like, when it comes to art, I like really surreal, bizarre, like, non-traditional art. I love the conversation that comes from the, like, what's up with this guy painting a white canvas white? I don't necessarily appreciate that art, because I think that, well, as much as it's subjective, and of course I'm not saying it isn't in any way, I think there's maybe a little bit more to art than just, like, only the statement. Although I agree that you can have some really good conversations about it. But, like, what's your line, I guess, is what I'm trying to find out. Where do you draw the line? And I think a lot of people that maybe haven't gotten super deep into really thinking about this stuff for themselves, that's, like, the beginning of moving your line back. Once you realize that you haven't consciously made a decision about where your line is, then you go, oh, wait a minute, like, maybe there isn't really a reason for me to have such a snap emotional judgment about it. Because when I started out in being interested in art, and I have some art background, I went to school for graphic design, I had to take a bunch of art history classes, and visit a lot of museums, and think about art in a whole bunch of different ways. When I started out on that path, I had maybe a bit more of a narrow focus. Oh, we got a pirate staff, that's pretty cool. I believed pretty strictly that, like, if you're gonna proclaim that you're an artist, you should have some sort of very dexterous mechanical skill when it comes to painting or sculpting or whatever it is, whatever genre of art that you happen to be in. And then I went to, well, actually, I really like stuff like Picasso, or like, oh, another discount card. Man, I'm getting a lot of these. Or Mondrian, or like really, really out there, kind of like not traditional art. And then there's like blendings of things like, was that? Oh, we got another lucky coin. All right, that's good. H.R. Geiger, or I don't know, like any number of really experimental, John Cage, like out there kind of art. I'm super into that kind of stuff, and what made me draw that line and push it back was really me saying, like, over time, what separates those two things? Like, where for the artist does that line happen? I feel like I'm going around in circles here, and I'm not getting to a good point. The medium and the message, and we have these discussions all the time, none of that stuff really matters if you don't let it matter. If you want to be all about mechanical skill, you can do that, but aren't you missing out on the other half of it? I don't know. It's a really weird discussion, and it carries over really well between music and art, because there's actually some great parallels to be made. When you look at dissonance in music, you can hear when a chord clashes, the same way that you can see in art when colors don't make sense together, or when the statement doesn't match, you know, the intent of the artist or something like that, or when they purposely create art just to be controversial. I mean, there's dissonance visually, there's dissonance auditorily, and I find that all really cool to think about. What is this? Is that a strange plant? Oh, it is. It's just deeper down into the water, so I couldn't tell. Alright, we got some cool stuff out of that one. But anyway, like, so the microtones thing, and feel free if you're a musician, by the way, and you want to chime in on this. What it looked like to me was happening was the artist in that video was just sort of getting off on, here's a whole bunch of mathematical patterns and how they map to music and grids and things like that, that they don't really have any meaning to them inherently, but it's just sort of like experimental tinkering. And when I listened to it and I found myself going, man, this guy's kind of pretentious, I was going like, what's what's wrong with what he's doing? And I couldn't really come up with a reason other than just it doesn't sound pleasing to me. And then I got into the whole societal acculturation and like psychological leanings, because we're brought up to like a certain sort of music, and we're brought up to like a certain sort of homogenous taste for visual design, because we see it everywhere. Like, we're sort of just indoctrinated from birth to see, like, okay, this is kind of acceptable. And when something's acceptable, you go, alright, that sort of just fits within the realm of what I believe is okay, for various reasons. And it's like, why do we not challenge that more readily? I have to wonder. And maybe I'm just not really, like, I don't think I have the right vocabulary today to get into it, but I think there's, like, a really good discussion to be had about that. And I think part of it is because I woke up really late and then had coffee, so I'm like a combination of buzzed but also sleepy, which always results in my words going right out the window. Look at all this freaking furniture we got. Let's drop off some of this stuff and see if we can channel a little bit more energy into one last task for today. What is this? Golden bathtub. We've got bookcases to throw in. But before I completely depart from this topic, I would love to hear what you guys think, and maybe we can kind of expand upon this for the next episode. You know, what do you think about dissonance, and, like, what turns you off when you listen to music that you go, man, that's just too far, like, how can anybody like that? Because sometimes people are surprisingly open to stuff, and sometimes they're surprisingly closed to stuff, and I wonder where that line is drawn for many people about why all of a sudden they want to open up their borders a little bit, why they want to expand their horizons about what's acceptable for them. So, I guess really the only way to figure that out is just to ask a whole bunch of people, what do you think? Like, all of these things that I want to put away are in different chests every time I look at them. This is bathtub. That can go down there. Chandelier goes in lighting, lantern goes in lighting, candle goes in lighting. Sofa can go in here. Piano can go in here. Alright, that's looking pretty good. But yeah, this was like the basic thing that really got me going in art school, was these kind of discussions. I got really into, like, trying to figure out what powered people and what made them interested in getting into art in the first place, because, like, it's not a thing that most people even really pay too much mind to, and it makes you wonder why. Because it's everywhere. It's like, it's a fundamental expression for a lot of people, and then other people, it's just completely negated. Like, a lot of people just don't have that introspective side that they feel like they need to put out there into the world. And some people, if they didn't have that option, it's just completely stifling to them. They would feel like they have no air to breathe. So I think asking people who haven't really put a lot of thought into it, and I'm not necessarily singling anyone out there, I don't have any predisposition about what camp anybody in particular falls into, whether you're a freaking master's degree artist or have never looked at a painting with any kind of criticism. Either way, I love to hear feedback. Terra, Golem. I like to keep these in sort of like rough order of where you fight them, and I don't even know where the Dutchman should fit into this. Wall of Flesh. It should probably be somewhere around here. That's fine. Got Buccaneer bandanas. I need to get over to the other side of the world, because this is becoming a little silly how long it's taking me to accomplish this very silly goal of putting these items into boxes. Look at my statues! It's so full! I don't know what I'm gonna do. We still got the Frost Moon, and now I'm at almost 3 full chests worth of banners. Why couldn't they just make, like, a little section where banners live that doesn't exist in your inventory and doesn't have to ever be put into anywhere? Just like a little box that fills up somewhere. Like, you get your banner box, and you put it down, and then all the banners you ever get immediately go into the banner box and never stay in your inventory. And they stack automatically, and you never have to deal with them or put them anywhere. It just all takes place by itself. That would be the best addition for me. I'm gonna sell some cutlasses now. Cutlie. No idea how you would say that, actually. Oh, I forgot, we've got an eye patch. Nice vanity item. And we also got a lucky coin, which I don't think I had. Right? No lucky coin around here, I don't think. Hitting enemies will sometimes drop extra coins. I think I can combine that with the discount card It makes like a ring or something. Should probably look into that next time. Oh, and this summoning staff, that's got to go in here. Demonic pirate staff, that's actually not bad. The pirate's pretty helpful. I should probably summon him once just so you can see what he looks like. Every time you spawn him, he looks a little different too, and the funniest part about it is if you leave him alone long enough, he'll eventually poop. Of course, now that I mention it, he's not gonna... Oh, there he goes. Yep, he just poops all over your house, which, honestly, I don't have the patience to clean up after this little guy. I think you can actually just right-click on the poop and it... Does it destroy? No? Look at this guy, he's freaking leaving poop everywhere. Get out! Also, why can I have a dragon and also a pirate? Oh, because he counts as like a turret, maybe? I don't know. So he's gonna go in here. I forgot to mention, I didn't realize, maybe I did actually mention this in a prior episode, but I forgot to mention this episode. I forgot if I mentioned it, rather. If, it's all about the accessories you're holding, and then it changes all of the stats on these, which is why things keep reorienting and rearranging in all of my chests, which I find a little bit frustrating, but, you know, I get it, it makes sense. 76. The cutlass, by the way, is like a really fast sword. It's a good thing to have early in the game, and if you get it before hard mode, you might actually be set for a little while. That's gonna go right in between the seedler. Right. 76, there we go. And last thing is put away the eye patch, and then let's head over to the right. You can hardly even tell there's an item there. It needs to be a little bit bigger or something. Alright, so let's get out of here. You know what I'll do? I'll actually open the strange plant now, because I probably won't see another one, and I probably won't want to come back to the house afterward. What do we get? Acid dye. Alright, no big deal. Not even worth really mentioning. You've seen acid dye before. It makes a little strobe effect. And we'll just put that here. I'm down to one slot, by the way, which is worrying me, because I imagine there's several more that I haven't found yet. Let's pump up here. I keep getting in this mentality when I turn on the game before I start recording, and I always spend like an hour to 2 hours. Oh, let's turn off the dragon before we end up near where I'm going. Let's turn off the pirate also. Where there is. I get in this mentality of like, man, I really want to fight the Moon Lord right now. And then I go to do it, and I'm like, man, those pillars take way too long. And then I just don't do it. If I could just farm the Moon Lord by itself without having to do the pillars every time, I'd probably have more Luminite than I could handle. And then if I just wanted to get all the stuff from the pillars, just let me do that separately. I mean, I know that I get 2 Moon Lord summons per pillars, but I want to use those items for other things. It's gonna be a happy time once I no longer have to fight that stuff, and, you know, it's just over with, but we're not at that point just yet. So what we're gonna do is head over to the beach, then we're gonna use our solar tablet to start a lunar eclipse, and we're gonna hope that it's gonna be quote-unquote morning by the time we get over there. Actually, the timing looks like it might work out reasonably okay. Not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be okay. Man, I'm just thinking about the discussion that I was trying to have earlier and how freaking fragmented my thoughts were. Hope you can forgive me. I usually am a little bit more composed when I talk about that kind of thing, but I'm just, like, feeling way out of it for some reason. I feel good, it's just, like, my head gets super scattered sometimes. Alright, let's go over here, and... what is it, 4:30? Well, I don't think it triggers the solar eclipse if it's not officially morning, so I think we're gonna be fine. Oh, it quick stacked. You know what? I've had about enough of this crap. Every time I try to do a thing, and I freaking quick stack something. Alright, change of plans. Let's go into the dungeon, and we'll get some ectoplasm and maybe drops. Sorry about that. I know I can favorite it. I've done it even in the past, but once you take it out of your inventory and it's not in there anymore, I think it just drops off your stars. Maybe it doesn't, but I don't remember. That would explain, well, It would explain why I've messed up so many times, but I also just don't remember if that was the case, if I've used favorite really on that. I want to think I did, but guess I don't know. Oh, right, we're going to the dungeon again, so I just could have messed that up. And all my buffs are about to wear up, but you know what, it doesn't really matter all that much. I guess I'll just go ahead and rest in this bed, because, again, stuff. I'm trying to think of what other things have happened. Oh, yeah, there's one other thing I wanted to discuss, but it's maybe a bit self-shaming, and I'm not sure how I feel about bringing this up, but, you know, maybe I'll just do it anyway, because who cares? So I did a really hypocritical thing. Anybody that's watched on Roundtable and such knows that, like, I have a pretty strong policy about don't pre-order video games, especially, like, in the AAA sphere, because it really doesn't help us out in too many ways. It gives them false sense of inflated finances, and, well, a lot of games tend to be broken on launch anyway. And so what happened was I just went and pre-ordered Fallout 4 yesterday. I saw it on Green Man Gaming for $45, and I said, hey, I might not see that again for that price, and then I just went and did it. So I'm conscious of that. That is a hypocritical thing to do. And then I started to go, so, like, am I going to justify this to myself, or am I just going to be shameless about it, or, like, how do I even... Do I think there's an exception if I were to use this to save money? Because the way I see it is, if I waited until the game launched, very likely I would have to pay $60 for it, so I'm kind of just wasting 15 bucks. Oh, I should be able to get a buff off of this. There we go. So, I mean, I don't really feel like I've changed my mind about what I feel about the whole thing. Like, it's not helping us to do what I did. But I did it. Should I feel embarrassed? Should I feel bad? Should I not care? Is there an exception for when you save money? I don't know. I'm really conflicted and confused about the whole thing. I mean, there's a good chance that Fallout 4 will have a bunch of issues when it comes out, and I'm aware of that, and I'm going in knowing that. But I know for a fact I'm gonna buy it either way, whether I do it at launch or whether I wait a little bit. I don't know. I might not have cared. Fallout 4 I know had a lot of, or Fallout 3 rather, had a lot of issues, and I got that at launch, and I didn't really care too much because most of the issues are actually kind of hilarious. I don't know, what do you guys think about that? Do you think that's messed up? Am I the problem? Am I adding to it? Probably am, to be honest with you. I mean, there's not really like an excuse for it other than just, I want to save money, and maybe I'm just using that to justify it subconsciously so I don't have to feel as bad. And then I'm sure there's going to be the camp that's like, well, it's your money, you do what you want with it. I know that's true. But I'm just saying to, like, the extent of how this all works as us together as, like, I don't want to use the word movement, because that's very overly grandiose, but as us trying to get our junk together and try and make a statement about what we think is appropriate in the industry, I think maybe what I'm doing is not helpful. And there's always the line of people that's like, yeah, I'm never pre-ordering Call of Duty, and then Call of Duty comes out and everyone on Steam is playing it at the same time. Oh, we got a sniper rifle. That is an item I did not have. Fantastic. And we did get a black belt. Already had that, actually, so that's not as good. Got some ectoplasm. Need more. Oh, I should be looking for a blue candle again so I can stand by it and get lots more spawns, hopefully. I also need to look into how to create battle potions, because it seems to be a thing that I need all the time, and I never have it. I bet it's not even very hard to set up either. Let's, like, make a new way through our dungeon. Let's create a... Oh, I've already done that. Never mind. I actually did it in a really good spot, too, and I just freaking ignored it. You know what would be a great addition, and I guess I'm just kind of dropping that topic now because I don't really know what else to say about it other than feel free to let me know your comments about what you think about the whole thing. Or if you just don't care at all, that's fine, too. What would be a great thing is if you could get that purification powder and sort of like Link to the Past style, bring it to the dungeon and then purify those little O things that float around, and then use it to kill them and hopefully get a crazy drop from them. I really like those, like, two-step weird ways of getting something to happen that are sort of out of the norm for everywhere else. I guess that could kind of work for the Dungeon Guardian, too, and thank you, by the way, for all those strategies about how to deal with the Dungeon Guardian. I'm gonna do it! Don't worry. I don't know when I'll do it, but I probably will, and it'll probably be after I get the UFO. Oh, this is probably a nice... No, it's not. I thought there was a little bit more opening for me to hang out in. Have I gotten... So there's, like, the Shadow Beam staff, and then there's the Exploding Demon Imp staff one. Have I gotten both of those? I really need to set up with that checklist. You know... And my apologies, by the way, for not linking that on yesterday's episode, because I found this, somebody linked me to a PDF. It was in the comments from 2 days ago. And I didn't put it in the description, but I need to start, like, filling it out. But the problem with filling out that PDF and seeing which items I've got already is eventually I'm going to start combining them. And then as I combine items, I need to also be consciously aware that I'm, like, deleting items. Because not only do I want to have the items, but I want to have all the permutations of the items, which I know is super excessive. But I'm just a glutton for punishment. And thank you, by the way, for the kind words of reassuring me that maybe it is actually quite an accomplishment to get every item in Terraria. Or Terraria, depending on how you say it. Again, I still believe there's probably a few people out there who've done it, but I don't know if they've done it in 1.3 yet. If I were to just stream this game 24/7 for like 3 days, I could probably get every item, but I'd probably also lose my mind in the process. I mean, the amount of streaming that me and Austin did, if we would have done that every day for a week, we probably would have had 99% of the game put away in that 1 week. I wonder how many streams it actually was, like 5 or 6-ish? Between 5 and 9 hours each. So you do the math. That's quite a few hours. And we didn't get every item by a long shot. But it was an interesting run through the game, and especially in expert mode. I'm also really looking forward to challenging some of the bosses, and also just wrecking some of the bosses in expert mode with my solo character that now is super powered up. Oh, we've got potential assault shotgun here. Any drops? Doesn't look like it. How's the money in the dungeon? Not so great, actually, as it turns out. Gotten quite a few black belts. Too bad, I don't need that at all. It'd be kind of cool if there was, like, a way I could transmute certain rare items into certain other items at a loss. I guess that would make it overly easy, though. I don't know how balanced that would be. Like, if I had 5 black belts and I needed, like, one other of the Ankh Shield items, maybe I could transmute them with 20 gold or something, or, you know, 100 gold, whatever, which is a platinum, I'm aware of that. Transmute that into a different rare item that maybe would be more useful to my situation, just to sort of cut down on the monotony of, like, oh, I just need one thing, but I'm getting 100 of this thing. Man, you should have seen the runs last night when I was doing Isaac stuff. I had every freaking great item in the world, because I was trying to farm getting Book of Revelations so I could get the Meat Boy achievement. I was trying to farm it, and I was going into every item room, rolling it with a d6. I had, like, Polyphemus, Holy Mantle, Blood of the Martyr, Stigmata. I just kept going and going and going. Like, every good item would show up. And it took me, like, hundreds and hundreds of resets before I got one. The first time I did it, I freaking got the wrong set, so I got the Bandage Girl one. So that was an immediate loss, so all of that time for nothing. And then the second time I did it, I finally got the Cube of Meat to start the chain. I got up to the depths, and it wasn't a boss room that was viable. It was a double boss room, which means you couldn't get a Horseman, which is what you have to get a Cube of Meat drop. So it was like 3 or 4 hours of me just resetting the game for absolutely nothing. It was so silly. I'm not even that salty about it, though, because we had a great night anyway, which is the magic of Twitch. Can take something as boring and menial as that, and through hanging out with people, can make it actually quite rewarding and fun. So, like, that's pretty amazing. But I feel like you know, people that develop this game, you should really consider how boring that is for most people. And I know it's part of the fun of having a rare achievement that not a lot of people are going to get it, but I was even trying to spam a kind of exploity way to do it, and I still wasn't getting it. And I know there's other ways to go about it with, like, the wafer and monster manual and all of that stuff, but I wanted to do a less convoluted way, if possible. It's just luck was not on my side on that one. I know luck is not a real thing, but still, sometimes it feels like just the odds are against you, and that was one of those times. Somebody in the chat was just like, how long has this game been out and you still don't have the Meat Boy achievement? It's like, do you see what I'm doing right now? Do you see how long this takes to get to happen? When I had the Bandage Girl one happen, it actually happened organically without me trying to cheese it. I just did like an Azazel run or something, and I got Book of Revelations on the first floor, and then everything worked out. It was fantastic. I'd never seen it before. But then I try and force it, and the game will not give up the book. It was freaking 2 drops in like 4 hours. Oh, and of course on that run, I got like no damage at all. I think I had base damage all the way through to the depths, which is ridiculous, considering how many great damage items I had seen prior to that moment. Anyway, I'm not here just to complain about the Binding of Isaac. It's just, I hope that stuff gets sorted out a little bit. I feel like that was a poor achievement to make, as well as having to require you to beat everything with the Lost. I'm not a fan of that, but I've said that 100 times, so you guys probably know that already. It's just the way the game is, though, and I don't have to get 100% completion. It's just, as a person who cares a lot about completionism, as evidenced by the fact that I would even attempt to try and get every item in Terraria, because that's a freaking fool's errand, and we all know it. We got a key brand. Did I have that yet? Can't remember. But yeah, it's like the definition of a fool's errand. I'm going at it anyway. Yeah, I seem to have a predisposition to that kind of thing. I remember when I was playing Symphony of the Night, I was like maybe 20 or something. That's not the first time I played it, but that's the first time I went to get 100% completion on it. It was so rewarding when I finally got like this pile of shields, and then I would reorganize all of my equipment with that awful inventory system that they had in Symphony of the Night, where you had to like grab and move each item individually. Oh. I think there was sort, but like it didn't do things the way I wanted it, because I wanted to have them all in like a really neat list. I don't know. At least Terraria tried to make some steps toward having a usable inventory. What they really needed to do, though, by this level of the game, was to allow us to expand our inventory more than it already is. Because this many slots just doesn't do the job when you have to hold on to all these items with you all the time. I mean, granted, this whole row here could be eliminated, and part of this row could possibly be eliminated too. But it's just the way it is. I still hold out hope that maybe, I mean, it's a very small hope, granted, but I hold out hope that maybe in one of the newer updates... Oh, I missed the Traveling Merchant. That sucks. Hopefully I've got everything from already. One of these future updates that could happen, maybe they will still introduce something to either streamline the way your inventory slots work, or at the very least, make banners more efficient. I know I harp on it like every episode, but I think actually that's one of the biggest problems with the game is inventory banner management. It's just silly. That was one of those rings, by the way, if you didn't remember what I was talking about. Just bring the Purification Potion into the dungeon and sprinkle a little on that ring, and then it'll become killable, and then maybe we'll get a drop from it. You heard me. Alright, I'm thinking we're probably going to be good on this episode. We got 17 ectoplasm. That's not terrible. I need a lot more, though, to craft all of the shroomite that I'm after. Got a Hell Armored Bones banner. And we got a sniper rifle, so that's good at least. I should go and see what I got out of this one. Oops, I forgot I can dash. I almost dashed right into the cultists and started the moon event. Those should be harder to trigger, also. You should have to go out of your way to try and trigger them instead of freaking accidentally walk into them, and then... If you got the right weapon or item up as an accessory, you've all of a sudden started an event that takes freaking 20 minutes to finish if you're fast. So I'm looking for the key brand. Do I have? Yes, I do have that. I got a pointy one. This one's got better damage, so let's switch those out. Somebody made a great point in my comments. It was like, Why don't you just sell the ones with better stats? You'll get more money. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I just have a thing about getting all the best ones in my inventory for some reason. Pretty sure I had a rocket launcher already. Yeah, there's one of those. This one is hurtful, so that's plus the damage. Very nice. I definitely got armor polish. I've definitely got a Tabi, black belts, got those. So yeah, I guess just the sniper rifle was like the only real accomplishment on that one. The victories come few and far between these days, but I'll take what I can get. I'll try and remember, by the way, to link that PDF that you mentioned and that you were interested in, because, you know, why not? Everybody should have access to that. And if you're also a completionist, I imagine you'd be very happy about it. I'll remind you again, by the way, for those that wanted to see my chests, I tweeted a picture and also put the link in a YouTube description a bunch of episodes ago. But I tweeted a picture. If you want to go back through my media files, you can see what all the titles of all these chests are. I'm thinking some of them need some reformatting, though. I need, like, an entire row of just banners now. Like, I should make, like, one more row down here on one side, but then it'll be not symmetrical anymore, of just banner storage. Well, actually, what could I do with this row if I got rid of all the banners? I could expand statues a little bit. Well, statues and banners would be their own row, easily. Paintings might need more room. I don't know. I'm going to have to rethink it and get back to it. I think that's going to be it for today, actually. I know it was a very fragmented and weird episode. I hope you guys can forgive me. I know viewership is probably going to start dropping a bit as we get forward through these episodes because, well, we're not making major strides per episode anymore, and we've kind of conquered the main foe. There's still stuff to do, though. I promise you that. I've just got to be in the right mood to do it and have the right conversations to have going over it. But because viewership is probably going to start dropping, I really do appreciate the people that are still here to leave likes. It does send the message that you still want to see this as often as possible. And, well, not like I'm trying to hold it ransom or anything. I still love playing Terraria. It's just, it's nice to see that, you know, people are excited and waiting for it every day. So yeah, that's going to be that. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you had a good, enjoyable experience in this discussion. Make sure you chime in. Let me know about your borderlines for art, where you think you draw the line for what's ridiculous and what is acceptable. And whether that's pictures or video or music, whatever form of art you want to discuss, that's all good with me. So I will see you next time. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Have a good night.